Hi there, Chamber friends. I'm Molly Grover, President and CEO of the Dubuque Area Chamber of Commerce, inviting you to a new space where we talk about real topics shaping our community. Let's unpack that. Together, we're going to have real conversations, real stories. We're going to get to the down low on the issues that matter to our community. Join us for Let's Unpack That with the Chamber, proudly presented by Phoenix Theaters.
I'm Molly Grover, President and CEO of the Dubuque Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined none other by two of my favorite people. In fact, leaders, the owner of Phoenix Theaters and the head of marketing with Phoenix Theaters. We have Cory Jacobson and we have Jordan Hohman. So we're going to get started. So let's unpack this, gentlemen, shall we?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So Phoenix Theaters, one of my favorite places when I'm out and about and want something to do in Dubuque, I go see a movie at Phoenix Theaters. The experience is unrivaled. It's fabulous. Tell us a little bit about Phoenix Theaters.
Well, Phoenix Theaters this year will be 25 years old, and we've had the theater here in Dubuque since 2018. Right now we have 9 movie theaters, and we have 79 screens. And 25% of our chain is Dolby Atmos at this point, which is a brand we've been steering into quite a bit. And we have about 400 employees today.
Wow, that's a lot of employees. So how many theaters again, did you say?
9.
9 theaters, and growing.
And growing,
And
yes.
growing, yes. So you have theaters pretty much in the Midwest, correct? Midwest, one on the East Coast.
You know, I was born in Madison, so this region is very familiar to me. And like I go to Dubuque, and I feel like I'm at home in Dubuque. It's very familiar. We have a theater out east in Massachusetts right now, possibly looking at another location out there. We just went down to Tennessee. We're sort of following the Cafaro company. And they invited us to come down and take a look at their theater at Governor Square in Tennessee. And we decided to go ahead and do that deal maybe a year or so ago now. And that opened on Memorial Day of this year. And that's doing really, really well. And we'll just see where life brings us. See, we have Iowa, Tennessee. We have 2 theaters now in Ohio that we didn't have a few years ago. And then we have the 4 locations in Michigan.
Wow, that's awesome. I love to hear about your success. It all kind of started, one of my favorite stories that you've shared with me in the past, how you got into the theater business. I mean, you started popping popcorn. I think it's a really fascinating story. You're a successful entrepreneur. If you'd share that, of how you got from popping popcorn to owning 9 theaters.
Well, I went to the movies first with my dad as I think I was about 6 years old. And we went and saw Herbie the Love Bug, which I thought was a cool Disney film. And I was just tantalized by being there. And the projectionist came downstairs, and I was looking up the stairs after the movie, and we got invited up to the projection booth. Well, my dad was a machinist and loved to see equipment and things operate, so we went upstairs pretty happily at that point and saw this equipment, and I was just dazzled. Well, I went home, and instead of playing, a lot of kids do a lot of different things. I played movie theater. I had my chalkboard, and I changed my marquee on the chalkboard to the movies that were playing at our local cinema. And then when the opportunity came up, I went and got a job there. So, and I worked every job from popping popcorn to ripping tickets to selling popcorn and selling tickets. I became the assistant manager, a general manager, and then ultimately I ended up changing companies and working for United Artists Theaters after Marcus Theaters, and ended up becoming a district manager there. And it became painfully evident that they weren't going to be around forever, and that don't buy any long playing record albums, as we like to say. And I ended up starting my own company 25 years ago from the remnants of the stadium seating era, because once you had stadium seating, a lot of these circuits gave up a lot of real estate, and some of it was pretty good at that point.
So one of my favorite stories, I hope that you would go into a little further, is because I think it really speaks to your vision as a successful entrepreneur and to the fact that you had that foresight. is a conversation that you had as a young man with, I think, someone that was trying to recruit you, if I remember correctly, from Amway.
That is correct.
Okay.
So I was an assistant manager, and there was a man that came in generally to the movies on Sunday afternoon while I was working there. And after seeing me repeatedly over a course of time, he said, can I get a meeting with you? I said, sure. I'm 17 years old, I'll have a meeting. So he shows up, and we go into our office, and he has his briefcase with him, and he pulls out this portfolio and starts showing me all these photographs of exotic cars and beaches with scantily clad women laying on the beach and fancy homes and everything else. And
this too can be you.
This too could be you for the right price. And he just kind of let that go on. And I said, well, you want to really get to what this is all about.
Cut to the chase
here.
Right.
And he said the big question he had before he cut to the chase was, if you had $1 million, what would you do with it? And would you buy one of these cars that you're looking at here? Would you be on the beach? I said, no, what I would do is I'd own my own movie theater. And he looked at me and he said, well, what would you really do? And I said, I own my own movie theater. That's just what I like. And he was baffled by this. He couldn't understand it. And I said, this is what I like to do. And then I said, well, let's just cut to the chase. And, how do I get my $1 million? And he said, have you ever heard of Amway? And I said, yes, I've heard of Amway. And he said, would you be interested in that? You have a lot of friends. I said, I'd like to keep my friends. So, and I politely said I wasn't interested in selling soap. So that was the end of that. And he explained how their pyramid system works, and that
Right.
if I sign you up, and then I sign Jordan up, and then Jordan sells something, it comes to me, it
So
goes to
easy.
you. Yeah, it's just simple.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's my funny Amway story.
I love that story so much. Every part of it. I love the fact that the guy from Amway, your answer wasn't on a script, and he didn't know how to respond to that, because that was probably the first time that anyone.
Yeah, I'd
said,
like
"Well,
one of these cars right here.
Right?
Put me on the beach here. I'd like that. Yeah, no, that wasn't me.
You totally threw him off. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And here we are today, 400 employees later in nine theaters, and we're so lucky. Thank you for choosing to invest in Dubuque. I say this at ribbon cuttings, but I truly mean it. You can invest anywhere in today's world, and the fact that you chose to invest in Dubuque and you took on a big project here is amazing. We're going to speak to that a little bit, but before we get to that, what was it about Dubuque? Why Dubuque? Why did you choose to invest here? Because you can go anywhere.
Here's the why Dubuque, and that is that we had our 10th anniversary party for our theater in Detroit, which is in Monroe, Michigan, more properly. And the Cafaros were there, and Bill McClandrick from the Cafaro Company said, we have this theater in Dubuque and we're having a lot of problems with it. Would you guys be interested in taking a look at it? So I said, yeah, I think I would go out and take a look at that for you. So we drove out here and bought tickets and saw the theater and saw the condition of the property and what was going on here. And spent a little bit of time here in Dubuque. I mean, we stayed in the Hotel Julian, and we ended up in Brazen's Restaurant. And we were there 2 nights in a row. My CFO went dancing with the waitress. So and I said, well, this is an awfully long way to go for a really, really great meal. And aside from the fact that you might end up going dancing with the waitress again if that's the case. So we came and did the deal here, and really never looked back from that point. I might also add that the first check that we wrote in Dubuque was to the Dubuque Area Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you very much.
And we got a lot out of that because one of your chamber members, I was looking through this, looking for the things that you need, like you need plumbers, you need electricians, you need painters, you need that type of thing. So we were looking through this, and the painter lady's name was in your brochure, a list of members, and called her, and I thought, well, that's a really interesting name. I want to see who's running this. And Lisa White showed up at that point, and we immediately clicked and realized that was the right person to put our paint wallpaper, make our business look the way it does today. And that's kind of what a chamber, I think, can do from you for just walking into, any community. So, and we incidentally do that every time we open a theater. The first check we write is to the chamber of that community for that same reason. I would say that the Dubuque experience has been the best of all of them. Primarily,
You were not paid to say that.
no, I was not paid to say that, and it's because of the size of the community, and I think you can really get to know people here quite well, and that makes a big difference. You get into much larger communities, and this is a nice, comfortable size. If you get bigger than that, it's a little harder to really get to know people, and also to just get your message across. So
Right.
I think that's important to know.
So Jordan, did you know anything about Dubuque before Phoenix Theaters invested here?
No, I didn't know anything about the Dubuque community at all, actually. I knew that it was in Iowa, and I knew that it was on the Mississippi, but beyond that, that's all I knew.
And so what was your impression, and over the past, well, it's been 7 years already, how do you feel about Dubuque?
I love it. I mean, I think that it's a really nice mix of small and large town, if that makes sense. I come from a very rural community in southeast Michigan, and it feels big. You walk in to this community, and you have all of the resources of a big community. You have a really good workforce, but it doesn't feel too big, if that makes sense. It doesn't feel like you're a small fish in a big pond. You feel like you can really make an impact and a difference here, and that's something that's unique about Dubuque.
We hear that from several people that will say, it's a city, but it has that small town charm and that small town appeal that is really attractive to lots of people. So I appreciate you saying that. We're so thrilled that you're here, and Phoenix Theaters, it is the best movie experience. Talk to us a little bit about the movie-going experience at Phoenix and how that is unique and different than the average movie-going experience.
Go ahead, do that. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I think that what we try to do with our facility is we try to offer people just a tremendous amount of value for their dollar. So first and foremost, when you walk in, you have to feel like it's casual enough that you can go frequently. We want to see people at the theater 6 times a year, not once every 6 years, or it's really become this overpriced thing, I think, in a lot of people's heads to go out and see a movie. And I think it should be more casual than that. It should be something that you can go and take your family to and really enjoy frequently. Beyond that, the other part of the value is offering just the best possible amenities. So the big thing that we came into this market with was the reclining seats. And in fact, the heated reclining seats were a new idea that we tried here in Dubuque, that we ended up adapting and bringing into our other locations at the time.
I love that. I use the heated seats even in the summertime because I'm always cold.
Yes, well, everybody's cold in the movie theater, so that was it was a nice amenity that the seating manufacturer offered that we wanted to bring on.
That's awesome.
We also try to focus on the best possible presentation in those auditoriums. So again, you want to make sure that if you're operating a restaurant, for instance, you could have the best service and the nicest facility and the nicest decor. But if the food's no good, then what are you left with? So we want to make sure that the presentation of the auditoriums is top notch. We do that through our Ovation sound system here and 2 of our biggest auditoriums. And you just try to make this as easy as possible for people and as nice as possible for people, and the audiences respond to that.
Yeah, it's an awesome experience. You have the player piano, the concessions are fabulous when you walk in. The amenities are second to none. The sound system is out of this world good. And then another thing that I really love about the movie-going experience at Phoenix Theaters that you never see is before the movie starts, someone welcomes you before the movie starts, tells you to enjoy the picture, an actual person, not someone on the screen. And I think I don't know of any movie theaters that are doing that. Are you unique in that fashion?
I think we experienced that for the first time at Disney World, and it was something that really set them apart. It made it feel like a personal experience. We really, really liked that. And what are you really losing? I mean, you have to pay some payroll to somebody who can go up and has the gusto to go announce the show and greet people. And I think that there's just so much value to that maybe doesn't show up on, it doesn't show up on the books, the way that something as black and white as, say, like Seats would be. But it's something that adds to the experience in a way that is sort of that X factor. And it ultimately depends on the staff there to create the energy and the culture that you're stepping into. And that's something that we are really happy with at this location. The general manager there has just cultivated this amazing staff of managers.
Brock
yeah.
is amazing.
Brock is amazing. Yeah, he's a first-class manager and a great manager of people. And he has really cultivated this staff here that just brings so much energy and excitement to their jobs. And that's what really makes this work, is having a staff there that cares about what they're doing. And I think it's exported rather to the customers as well. When you're there, you're having a good time because the staff is so good.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. I mean, the team of Phoenix Theaters, everyone that we have met, everyone that we've been engaged with is stellar. And I know that you love your team, Cory, and I think it starts at the top, your workplace culture, and it's obvious that your team loves you and you love your team. It's amazing how you cultivate the talent and the leadership at Phoenix Theaters. And 400 employees, that's a lot of employees. I don't know all 400, but I know your main leadership team, and so they're awesome.
Well, we're also very unique because if you look at who this is, we have a staff full of people that work in our corporate office. All of those people had the same start of their career that I did, in the sense that they started popping popcorn, they started ripping tickets, they started in the concession stand. Some of them were projectionists when we had 35 millimeter film, and so we have a history, and we've got people there that are 25, 30 years into this, have been with me for over 30 years right now, because they followed me from the United Artists Theaters into Phoenix Theaters. And again, I kind of had this dream too of just having a place like that where you go to work every day with the people that you love to be around and people that are knowledgeable. And I think that is a very key to our success right now. I don't think that, I know I could have done it by myself, and I think that's important. And also to have people that know the business from the ground up is important. And that's been a big plus.
So it's kind of the secret sauce. I mean, is having the right team and being surrounded with people that have the same passion and the same vision as you, and you really know how to build people up. And it's so fun to watch and see when you bring your team to town. Everybody's awesome.
Well, Jordan here you kind of demoted him earlier.
I did.
Yes,
I did demote him.
He's now the vice president of project development.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Jordan.
Oh, thank
That's
you.
awesome. And forgive me, please. I would never, ever demote you.
No, I know.
Okay, cool.
He'll accept the field demotion for
Okay, awesome.
Quick break to give a big shout out to one of our favorites, Phoenix Theaters, for their presenting sponsorship for Let's Unpack That. If you haven't been to Phoenix Theaters lately, you're really missing it. Catch your latest favorites and old favorites as well at Phoenix Theaters.
So let's talk a little bit about the movie industry. Obviously, things are rolling along, right? You open a theater here in Dubuque and you're opening theaters in other locations, and then bam, COVID hits. And that really took a toll on the industry because nobody went anywhere, right? We didn't leave our houses. Talk to me about getting through that and where you're at today, because really the economy right now is dealing with some challenges, and how does that impact what you're doing at Phoenix Theaters?
Well, the COVID thing certainly was a challenge, and I've certainly said this publicly over and over again, and that's another reason to be a member of your Chamber of Commerce, because you really understood how dire the situation was for us specifically, and went to bat for us, and got us in front of meeting after meeting. Incidentally, our National Trade Association hadn't really thought about tapping into chambers of commerce around the country to have those conversations. And we were the first people, I think, to really do that on a large scale. And they got really involved in that as well, if you recall. So that brought us to Senator Grassley, very important key member of the legislative community in Washington, and also Joni Ernst, and I want to say, I can't remember your Congresswoman.
Ashley Hinson.
No, she wasn't there then.
She wasn't there?
That was Abby
Finkenauer.
Yes.
Okay.
And we got a chance to talk to all those people through you, and Abby at the time was involved with a House committee on, I want to say small business, or, she was in a committee like that. And certainly the other two senators were very, very key. And we needed their support to get the Shuttered Venues Operators Grant, got that right?
I remember.
And SFOG, and that helped movie theaters, it helped museums, zoos, also stage theaters. And by tying all of these cultural things together, cultural events together, I think that's what really made that work the way it did. And our company was just the right size to take care of something like that, because, we at the time had, I think we had 5 or 6 theaters. We were the right size to really fit into the criteria of who that was supposed to help. And, we took that money and made sure that all of our vendors were whole, that, particularly our landlord was whole at the end of the day. And I think that was a huge, huge deal. We probably wouldn't be sitting here right now if that wasn't the case.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, and I would also say that we used some of that cash to not have to recover the way some of the other folks did to expand our business, and that was very helpful.
So from an entertainment aspect, to put this in perspective, there's businesses that we all enjoy and engage in here locally. Phoenix Theaters, the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium, the Grand Opera House, Five Flags Theaters. These businesses, and I'm just scratching the surface, that might not be in business today if it weren't for the SVOG, the Shuttered Venues and Operators Grant. And so, that is, definitely a program that helped you and helped so many of our businesses here locally. And it's really important from a quality of life standpoint.
Yeah, and I think incidentally you understood that at the time. And I don't know, it's really hard to know what our efforts on a local basis here in Dubuque meant to the grander picture. But is it 10%, 20%, 50%? I'm not sure. I know that without the support of our 2 senators, particularly here in Iowa, that probably would have been a very heavy lift. So that was a big deal. And I'll never forget talking to Senator Grassley, he said, son, you need to go out and get yourself a loan. And I said, well,
I remember that meeting.
Yeah,
we were on the patio, Grand River Center.
Yeah, and he said that, and I said, well, Senator, there isn't a bank in the world that's going to give you a loan if you don't have a balance sheet at this point. We're just destroyed. We have, there's no income coming in. And he says, well, son, I think you've got a point there. And, it was funny because, he is significantly my senior to be able to call me son and get away with it easily.
It was charming. It was, it really got the ball rolling. That was kind of like a turning point, I think, for the SVOG and getting more people on the bandwagon. But thankfully, it turned out.
And it certainly was for him. I think he understood just instinctively where we were at that point. And again, unless, there was a lot going on, and to try to get focus on your specific issue was very, very difficult. And I think that the work that was done here by the chamber, your office, and you were on all those calls with us with these congressional delegations, and we used that over and over again. We duplicated that, talked to Debbie Stabenow, Senator Stabenow in Michigan, repeatedly. That was very good. We were with Senator Markey in Massachusetts, and Senator Warren. There was a lot going on back then, and that really focused us where we needed to be. We really turned our office into a lobbying firm, and it was.
That's a good way to put it.
It's a difficult time. It really was.
It was, and now we are where we are at today. People are going back to the movies, and you had, I think, I think you told me that, was it Top Gun? That was the most, or the Maverick one. That was the most successful release that you've had to date. I think you've had a good summer. You want to talk about where you're at?
It's even bigger than that because Top Gun is the #1 film to ever play in the city of Dubuque in the history of film.
That's amazing. That's crazy.
And by the way, we should get ourselves a statue of Tom Cruise, maybe out of bronze or something like that, and put it in the lobby because Tom Cruise said it was okay to come back to the movies, and that was several years ago now. And I think that he really broke through. And I was out here in Dubuque the opening night of the picture, which is Thursday night. Looked out the port window, saw a lot of gray hair in the theater, and I went downstairs, and they're all like guys that had gone to the original Top Gun in the '80s, and they're like, "Hey, let's go to the show tonight and check this out." And I thought we were in trouble with this picture because there weren't a lot of women there. That's bad.
Right, you and I
And
discussed
not
this.
a lot of families
Yep.
there. And then we stayed Friday, and that audience started to appear. And by Saturday, I drove back to Michigan Saturday night, and I snuck into the theater there, and it was a full house. And I sat in the front row, and the audience was a really mixed audience of people, age groups, genders, and families. And it's like, well, this is going to work. And as that movie played on, there were moments in that film where people would literally applaud the film. And they did that 3 or 4 times during that picture. I showed up on Monday morning in our booking meeting where we assess how the films do for the week. And I walked into the room and I said, we're going to be playing this film at Christmas. Now this is May. And everyone's like, yeah, right, sure. We have locations that got as much as 28 weeks out of that film.
Wow, that's a long time.
And I think Dubuque's like 26 or it's
So
a
that's
number.
half a
It's
year,
a number. I
that's
think it's
6
a half a year.
Yeah.
And at that time, no one up to that point thought that was even possible any longer because we really got into this churn of films. You play a month and a half in the theaters, you're off, and you go to home video, and that was an extraordinary situation. And it may not duplicate itself again. Hope it does, but we'll see. Now they're talking about making Top Gun 3. So
And
hang
I'm
on to
sure
your
you're
hat.
not sad about that.
No.
No, that'd be a good thing. So a little bit of trivia for people listening that, when the question comes up, what is the most popular movie to ever play in Dubuque, Iowa? Answer is
Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick. Awesome. So let's have some fun. We have a bowl right here. This is we call it our popcorn round. Get it? Sponsored by Phoenix
Popcorn
Theaters. Popcorn round. Just fun questions. We're going to have you pick out a few and then share your answers.
You can throw that in.
If your career was a movie genre, what would it be?
I think action adventure.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. Okay. Let's do it again.
Okay.
More popcorn.
More popcorn. I'm gonna. All right, you got it. Go ahead. And the question is?
What's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, that's a good question.
Wow, that's tough. That is really difficult. I think my favorite movie of all time is Cinema Paradiso.
I've never heard of that movie.
It's an Italian film.
Okay.
It won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Film in 1988.
Okay.
And it's about a little boy that went to the movies and loved going to the movies and befriended the projectionist at the theater and ended up, by the end of the film, he didn't really say what he did. He either owns theaters or he's making movies. I think he's a movie maker. He's a filmmaker.
It sounds a little autobiographical there, Cory. Is it?
Well, it might be why I like it.
I love
But
that.
it is, I can't get through that film without getting emotional. I think it's a great film.
Awesome. And Jordan, what about you?
There you go. Now is your chance to say something.
My
Paul.
favorite movie of all time?
Yes.
My favorite movie of all time changes a lot. But these days, I feel like it's Arrival. It's, if you haven't seen it, it's a really, really good sci-fi movie.
Okay.
And it's about aliens that arrive on Earth, and they're in this sort of giant pod out in the middle of a field somewhere. And really the whole movie is about trying to communicate with this alien species that's just kind of parked there initially. And so they bring on this linguistic expert to try to figure out their language. And then through figuring out their language, they learn about how they treat the concept of time, and the movie kind of unfolds in a way that is just, it's so beautiful. It's one of those movies that, like, once you get to the end, you don't realize really if you were watching the beginning or the end of the movie. And again, it just like Cory, I can't watch it without, feeling so much emotion. It's just such a good story, and also tragic, but powerful.
Okay. Your guys' movies, your favorite movies, are so much more intellectual than mine. I mean, my favorite movie of all time is Remember the Titans. I love Remember the Titans. I can't watch it, and I shed tears. But I mean,
It's also a good movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
It's got a great soundtrack. It's got a great story. I love, the conquering good over evil. I love that movie. I can't get enough of it. But not nearly as interesting as yours.
I think Remember the Titans is a great movie. Don't
Okay.
sell yourself short.
Okay, I'll try not to. Let's do 2 more popcorn, 1 each.
One each.
Sure.
All right. You can grab one of these. Oops. I'll lose this here.
Ooh, okay. How about this? What's your guilty pleasure movie?
You're asking me this?
Yeah,
I
what's
think
like
you should-
something
I
that-
think you should answer that for yourself.
What will you always watch if it's on?
What will I always watch if it's on? I will always watch Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Okay.
Yes.
Jordan?
Man, that's a tough one. Guilty pleasure movie. When I think of this question, I think about like Legally Blonde. Like, it's not like it's like some cinematic masterpiece or something, but it's just such an entertaining movie to watch. And I've probably seen it, a dozen times or something now, just, here and there. And yeah, so I mean, it's always something that I'll watch, and I guess that's what I describe as my guilty pleasure movie.
It's a good escape, right?
Yeah.
And you get sucked in. Mine is 2, The Shawshank Redemption. So I get Shawshanked every time, it's on. And doesn't matter where it is in the movie, I can pick it up. And then the other one, Grease. It's the definition of guilty pleasure. But anyway, thanks for sharing. One more for good
All right.
measure.
Reading this? Okay.
One more popcorn question. Streaming at home or big screen movie theater experience? All right, this is kind of a loaded question. What will you pick?
Well, I love sitting at home, being interrupted while I'm trying to watch a movie from the cat jumping on my head to the doorbell ringing and, people running around. I'm just kidding. I think that going to see a movie, where the experience is big and bold and I mean, it's like Top Gun or Mission Impossible or, pick something. I don't know how that experience is ever better in your house than it is in the theater. And maybe there's some quiet films where you just can sit and kind of reflect on it. But there's just things that need to be on a television set, and there's things that need to be in a theater. And I think the theater makes every film better. And I think the directors they make the movie for the cinema in most cases. And again, I think you're losing the sound, you're losing the picture. And by the way, I mean, I have a nice television set. I've got a great sound system in my living room. And to me, it never is making a choice about whether I always say this, and that is everyone has a kitchen in their house and they still go out to eat. And to me, it's like I get home, I'm tired, and maybe I'll watch a part of a movie and then shut it off and call it a night. But if I'm going out to see something or to do something and experience something, I think it's very different. If I'm not going to make that choice. It's not a choice about whether I'm going to sit in my living room or go out, and I'm going to go out. I'm just that person.
Yeah, I'd have to say nothing can replace the experience of being at the movie theater. It is extraordinary. I think it's one of the simple pleasures in life. I think people, we got past COVID and remembered the simple pleasure and the enjoyment of going to the movie theater and having that movie theater experience. And I think that you take it up to the next notch at Phoenix Theaters with the seating and the heated seats and the way you make people feel when they're there. And I mean, it is an experience from the moment that you walk in the door. till the moment that you exit the theater. So thank you for your investment in our community. It's amazing. Can't thank you enough.
Oh, thanks.
You are so welcome. As we wrap this up, one last question that I'd like to ask. So you chose to invest in Dubuque. It was an intentional decision. You took on a big project. What would you say to someone that might be considering choosing Dubuque, whether they're going to have a business here, whether they're going to live here, whether they're going to visit here? Why would you say choose Dubuque?
Well, I think you get all the seasons here, and maybe a lot of people wouldn't say that. Actually, I've also been the coldest here I've ever been in my life walking out of the hotel. That's why we decided to put in heated seats. I said, we got a call from the heated seat manufacturer, and he said, I've just got this new product, it's heated seats. And I said, I am really cold, and we need to put heated seats in Dubuque. So, but you have all the seasons. You have, I think, a community here that just feels like it's grounded. There's a strong sense of your community here that I don't think you have in a lot of other places. It's not transient, and I like that. And you walk down the street and the buildings are alive, and there are people here who've been here, and you see them year after year after year. I think that's really important. And you have great restaurants. Love that. You know what? Every time we're here, we have a circle of restaurants we go to, and I can't live or be anywhere where I can't have a nice meal, and that's here for sure. And again, I think you really get an opportunity to know people here, and that's important. And again, you need that support for yourself. You need that support for your business. I think that it's a community that also has, the loyalty of people and employees. I just can't say enough for it that way. And I think that it's not too big of a community, but not too small of a community. So you're not missing out on some things that I think are important, such as the good restaurants, and you have entertainment, whether it's at our movie theater or at any of the other venues here that are live venues, that you have things that come here. I think that's important. Love taking people on the rides up and down the Mississippi on the riverboat. I think that's cool. I just can't say enough for it. I think that it was a really good choice for us then. It's a good choice for us now. And I don't think we would ever have regrets about being in Dubuque, Iowa.
Awesome. You're hired. That is the best answer. We love that. We feel very blessed to be doing business, to live here, to work here, to play here. And as Goldilocks says, it's not too big, it's not too small, it's just right. So,
yeah, exactly.
So, gentlemen, on behalf of the Dubuque Area Chamber of Commerce and our very first episode of Let's Unpack That, thank you so much for being our special guests. Thank you for your support as a member. Thank you for choosing Dubuque to invest. Thank you for being our sponsor. It is presented by, once again, by Phoenix Theaters, and we can't wait till we see you again. So thank you.
That's a wrap for this episode of Let's Unpack That. On behalf of myself and my chamber colleagues, thank you so much for joining us and spending this time with us. We hope that if you have issues that you'd like to unpack, you reach out to us because we want to hear from you. On behalf of the chamber and our sponsor, Phoenix Theaters, we'll see you next time.